Hello, welcome everybody to my channel. So as you all are well aware of that, we have already completed our UI policy series and data policy series, which you can, see in the link into the description of this video. So as we are well aware of that, we are actually experiencing or we are learning about the concept related to the client side implementation of ServiceNow. So after covering the UI policies part, I am planning to cover the client scripts. So before even digging into the uh, more advanced topics in the future. So within client script, our first goal or the first agenda is to understand the client side APIs. Which client side APIs are we going to deal with specifically into our current ServiceNow ecosystem, and what are the majorly used client APIs. So there are few clients APIs which I have listed over here, which is one of them is GlideUser, other is GlideForm, one is GlideAjax, Glide Navigation, Glide Dialog Window, Glide Model, Glide Model Form, Glide List, and Glide Flow. So we will be learning about all these entire concepts into our upcoming series of lectures. So I would really request you to stay tuned with me and let's deep dive into all these topics and let's deep dive into ServiceNow as a whole to become the best ServiceNow developer in the market. So today I want to start with one of the most important and one of the widely used APIs, which is also known as a GlideUser APIs. It won't be that long video, but yes, I would really like to cover this part as well. So the first topic that we will be going to cover is GlideUser API. So first, before understanding what is a GlideUser API at the first front, and what do I mean by GlideUser API? So it's a client-side API, that's true. Okay, this is a client-side API and it helps us to get information or which specifically information related to user information. Okay, so this specific information are mostly related to the user information. Okay, so user information, and we also get the roles details of a particular user. So as you all were aware of that, the service now leverages few roles to give the access to a particular user into the ecosystem. So we will be understanding these roles and ACL's concept more into the server side when we will be exploring more kind of a server side script. But let's first, try to understand what is client side and what is, Glide user API. So before diving dive into this as well, but first let's try to understand what are client APIs. So I should have covered this at the start, but yeah, let's try to understand this client API. What do we mean by client API? So this client API is nothing uh but it is nothing but a set of these APIs which we are going to use it here plus JavaScript. And these APIs will help us to, interact with all the forms, user details, getting user from from a server to client side, So all these APIs plus JavaScript is what we called as a client side API. And these APIs are only meant for the client side interaction, and which is nothing but that help us to take the input. So these client side APIs help us to take the client which side API, or maybe you can say it as a client side. So the client side is nothing but that help us to take the inputs, and client side APIs that help APIs means that a set of functions or methods or classes that help us to interact with client side within ServiceNow. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is what we usually describe. So let's start today with the GlideUser API. Okay, so now before heading towards the GlideUser, let's try to first go to the form. Okay, let's go to the form. Okay, now here we go. Now let's go to student incidents. Now we will go to student INC. Okay, so this is one of the incident that we have created. And let's talk about the current logged in user. Current logged in user is nothing but the system administrator. So is there a way where we can get the details of current logged in user within our ServiceNow form, or is there a way to interact with our current logged in user? Okay, let's just go to the profile first, and just go to the view. Let's me go to the default view. This is nothing but a sys user table. Okay, cool. Now let me just change this first name to instructor. Now, is there a way to, get this first name? Is there a way to get the last name? Is there a way to get the user ID, or, the sys ID of the user with the help of script, that too at the client side? Okay, so let's try to achieve this first. So now over the form to help you to practice the APIs, okay, just click on Control, Shift and J. So you will get one JavaScript executor. So the shortcut here is Control plus Shift plus J. Okay. And this is for both Mac plus Windows. This is for all the OS. Okay. Now let me write our first script. Okay. Let us write our first script and let's try to understand that. Okay. Now let me create a variable f name, first name, which is nothing but g underscore user dot first name. That's all. And then let me try to make an alert statement. Okay. Is that Does that make sense? Okay. Now let me try to execute the code. And if I just click on execute the code, okay, let me click on run code. Okay. So I got the system. So the first name, okay, did we just save the form? Okay, let me just, copy the script, close the window and just reload this. So because we just say, change the first name here, so we must reload the window. Okay. So again, Control Shift J, and then let me copy the script. And if I just run the code and I got the instructor, which is the first name. Now with the help of glide user other API, so this is how the glide user is being written. Okay. G underscore user and this dot property name. This is the first name. So now let's try to talk about, okay, now this is the alert. Alert in the sense that show you the output in the form of alert. Okay. So we will write it as first name is, and let me concatenate this. So this is nothing but a JavaScript, plain JavaScript syntax. That's all. Okay. Now let me write few more statement here. Variable. Okay. Last name, which is equals to glide underscore user dot last name. In the same manner we will get. So I will just log the alert over here. L name. And now let me run the code. Okay. So first name is instructor. Last name is administrator over here. See, because the last name was administrator. So this is how, you can get the session, or the, session of the current logged in user, and able to get the properties and functions that is related to the so that you will get the properties with the help of this GlideUser API. Now let us try to do some more over here. Oh, can I get the full name over here? Okay. So we do have one more field also known as a full name. So what will be the full name? Let me just right click over here, go form layout. Hmm. Now let me go to command S. Okay, let me just full name. Where could be my full name? Full name or name. Okay, this is the name. Okay, so let me bring my name field. Name field usually ServiceNow described by concatenating first name and last name. This is usually we have, it is instructor administrator. Okay. Now, how do I access my name? So variable full name is equals to glide underscore user dot full name. And this is a method. Full name is a method. Hence, I am having this brackets over here. It's a function. A function, you can see it as a method or whatever. Alert. And let me have a full name. Name. Okay. And let me try to run the code. First name is instructor. Last name administrator. Okay. So maybe do we have anything full unders full name? So maybe let's try to run the again. Instructor, last name administrator. Okay. So maybe the script has some problem. Okay. So let's try to debug it. So if I just copy this, save, full name is okay. So let's try to see. It should be method, I guess, or it should be a variable. Let's see. Full name is instructor, last name is okay. See, now the full name is instructor administrator, which I have over here. So this is nothing but a property. Okay, to get the full name of the entire user. Okay. Now this is just the basic properties over here. Okay. So now let's try to get the user ID of the user. Okay, get variable user or user ID is equals to user dot user ID. So this property will help us to give the user ID of the user. So I'm going to get to go to alert. User ID is, and then I will just concatenate the user ID. And let me try to run the code. First name is instructor, last name is administrator, full name is instructor administrator, and user ID is undefined. Let's see why it is giving us the undefined over here. Okay. So if I just, because of one typo. So this I and D will be capital over here. Okay. So this I and D are capital. Okay. If I just run the code, and this is the user ID, and this user ID is nothing but the system ID, sys ID. Let me show you. So this is the sys ID you see here, sys ID, or you can just right click, copy sys ID. And if I just show you, this sys ID matches with the sys ID over here of the user. So this user ID is nothing but the sys ID of current logged in user. Okay. So this is very useful, one of the most useful methods within GlideUser. So your most of the logic when you will be working on client side scripts or catalog client side script. So you will be using this user ID most of the time, like to validate the current logged in user and to get other details related to current logged in user. All right. So this even the people ask this question in the interviews as well. Okay, cool. Now let's take ourselves in a bit more advanced. Let's try to understand more advanced topics within GlideUser. Okay, so now let's try to dig more deeper into roles. So because as far as our definition, we can also get the user information and roles information as well. So this is the moreover, I believe that this much is well suited for getting the user details, and this is what you will be using it in your day-to-day life regarding the user details altogether. Okay, but let's try to understand some other, particularly other ap- methods and functions that help us to understand more of this GlideUser API and the actual use of it. And those are user nothing but the roles. Now, to identify that the current logged in user has a particularly assigned to a particular role, how do I get that? Okay, so if I just say that variable is ITIL, then I have a glide underscore user dot has role. Okay, so this is the has role method, and this has role method will have, I will pass the role which I'm trying to attach. Okay, and then I will let me try to alert the statement. Alert is ITIL. Okay, okay. Now let's try to alert this. Okay, let's try to print this statement. If I just run the code and it gives me true. And do my current logged in user, do I have a ITIL role? Let us check that first. Edit. This is just admin. And let me try to search it from here. I say that admin. Okay, I do have admin role. I do have ITL role. So now, do I have a ITL role at the first place? Can you see any ITL role was assigned to the system administrator? But why did it return true at the first place? Why? This is not an absolute rule. Okay. The moment glide this has rule is used, it search for first check for the add for the specified role, which is ITIL. If you have a specified role which is ITIL, then it will return obviously true. And if you don't have a specified role ITIL, it will search for the admin role. Because I had this admin role, it returned me true. Okay, so has role returns true because I have admin role. Okay, so what? Okay, so in a nutshell, how I can define this? Okay, in a nutshell, how I can define a has role first. Okay, now has role. Has role means nothing but will check the permission. If no permission, additionally, it will check for admin role. That's it. But is this a good idea? Okay, to suggest to having an admin role, having that admin role, and uh, because this will always return a bogus, or we might not need this has role every time. So is there a way to only get the only ITIL role without having an admin check? Yes, we do have that. So having this, we will use exactly. So the moment I write GlideUser.has role exactly, it will only check for the ITIL role, not for admin role. Okay. If I run, so I got the false. Reason behind that, I don't have any ITIL role. I only have the admin role. So if I just click on edit and I've assigned myself a ITIL role. Okay. And I will just save the form. Okay. Now I have got ITIL role. Now let me, copy this script and just refresh the form. Again, Control Shift and J. I saved page JavaScript. And let me try to run this now. Uh, so do I have ITIL role assigned? Hmm. Sorry for that. So for the has role exactly, I will search it and run the code. Okay, why am I getting a false over here? Okay, now to have this, check over here, let me, use another user. I will go over here. I will just impersonate. I will impersonate ITIL user. Okay, and I will just impersonate the user. And let me just copy the script first. So this ITIL user will have the ITL. Okay. So if I just check for this role, this is nothing but ITL role. Oh, now if I just go to the any incident form, because she might not have our student event registration. Okay, she has, but she cannot view that. Okay. So if I just open any incident dot list, and let me just open any incident form. This can be done on any form because Glide user is accessible within client side on any form that you want. And let me just go to command control shift J. So we cannot view this security constraint. Okay. Uh, and impersonation. Mhm. Now if I just command shift and J, oh my bad. Control shift and J. I will write my over here. Okay, and if I just run the code, it is still giving me false. Why? Hmm, Clear the cache. Let me refresh it. Let's wait for a second. And now control shift J. And let's try to put it over here. Run code. So now it's giving me true. Okay. Maybe because of the cache issue, this issue had happened. So maybe after flushing the cache. So now we got the exactly. Okay. If I just run the code, has role exactly is true. Now there is something other roles I have. After has roles, I have got has roles. Okay. And there won't be any parameter. So this will just check that is the user has one role or not. Okay. Just to check that has user has one role or not. If I just run the code, it will check because I have at least one role. Okay. That's why it has give me has roles. Now, similarly, we might have other rules as well. Okay. So there is one more method. Okay. So which is known as has rules from list. So now let's try to understand that as well. Let's give me a demo. Variables, roles list. Okay. Is roles from list. Then I will use glide user dot as role from list, and I will usually add here ITIL admin. Okay, I will use one more role as ITIL and another role as let's say admin. Now within this list I have ITIL role and admin role. Yes or no? Hence, if I just run the code, why it's not running? Command X, Command V. Let me just, refresh the window. Sometimes it doesn't, it's not my bad. I haven't put in any alert statement there. Okay, now let me just remove admin for now. Cool. Let me just have this and let me go to alert. And if I just click on run code, ITIL admin. Okay, let me see admin itself. Sometimes it doesn't work, but yeah, sometimes we face such issues. But this run code is not. Hmm. Got the variable was not proper. So it returns me true. Now let me add few other rules here. Now if I just run the code, it again return me true because I have ITIL role. I don't have ITIL admin role. But now I have to do one thing. Okay, let me remove ITIL role from my list. Okay, if I just go to edit, let me not give myself an ITIL role. Okay, let me remove ITIL role from here and let me just save the form. Now let me go to the form, command X, and let me close it and let me just refresh the window. Okay, now again control shift J. Let me paste it. Okay, now let me see ITIL and do I have ITIL admin? I don't have either of the roles. Okay, let me show you now at this point. If I just refresh the window again, this window, just a second, instance is quite slow. Let's wait for a bit. Why is it very slow? Hmm. So if I just go over here, search for within the roles, if I search for ITIL, let me click on return. So I cannot see any ITIL role. Do I have any ITIL admin role? No. Okay. So if I just, run this script now, if I click on run code, it still returns true. Reason being that even has role from list do an extra check of admin. The behavior is same as has role, but it apart from ITIL and ITIL admin, it will also check for the admin role. And the reason for my case it is returning true is because this user is I'm an admin user. Is it fine for you? Okay. So this is how this has role from list work. So in comma separated, you can give any number of roles. Let's say uh, one more role is PA admin role. See, I don't have any P performance PA admin role, but even I still run it, it still give me true because an additional check of has role from list will have also there. So it means that I can have has role from list. If I have to define it has role from list in a nutshell, how I can define. So these are the interview questions. Okay, so these people usually they will ask you for interviews. So this is really important. So in a nutshell, will check the the list of permissions, comma separated. Did Additionally, will also check for admin role. That's all. So this is the entire, today's class for Glide user. Hope you enjoyed the class. Okay, so I have tried to cover like most of the important um, concepts, most of the important methods and properties. So if you really like this video, please hit that like button and please do subscribe to my channel. And if you have any question, please go to the comment section, ask any questions. I will surely try my best to give you all the answers if you have any questions. Okay. So thanks. Have a nice day. Okay. All right. Thank you.